This is Kerrigan and Company. Did you know that more than 90% of cyber attacks can be prevented? Focus Technology helps organizations create a cybersecurity framework to minimize your risk of being attacked. Let Focus Technology's certified team conduct an assessment to determine where the gaps are in your organization, no matter how big or small your company is. Utilizing the industry's best tools, Focus Technology security operations team will monitor and stop bad actors before it's too late. Contact Focus Technology today at focustsi.com and secure your company's most valuable assets. That's focustsi.com. A&B Burger in Beverly and A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston are redefining guest expectations of a casual restaurant. Both A&B restaurant locations are focused on hospitality, creative menus, and delicious food and drinks. Now, I've been to both restaurants many times and loved everything I've tried. Get to A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly or head across the street from our studio at the TD Garden to A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston today and experience the A&B difference yourself. I promise you're going to love it. Hey everybody, this is Kim Kerrigan, the host of Kerrigan and Company. So glad you could be with us today. I have a very surprising co-host today, and the two of us will be welcoming Andrew Farrell. He's a member of the New England Revolution, coming to us all the way from Panama. This is Kerrigan and Company.
Kerrigan and Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan and Company is here for you.
Welcome, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company, brought to us, of course, by A&B Burger. It's great to have you along on this episode. Now, we've had a little change of plans this week. I mean, you know, this is what Hollywood's all about. You just never know what's going to be thrown your way. Yeah, I'm calling it Hollywood. I'm trying to make it into something else. So I want to introduce you to my co-host who's keeping me company today. Everybody, this is our executive producer. This is Dave Thomson. And Dave, welcome to Kerrigan and Company.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here.
Did you ever
I didn't
think
know we
that
were
I'd
in
be
Hollywood.
saying that? I know. I'm trying to make this into Hollywood so I can explain to everyone why we had to shift. You just never know, right?
Yeah.
So Levin Reed was our co-host today.
He was.
From CBS Boston. And great guy, terrific guy. And tell what happened.
And he is not feeling well. He texted in the middle of the night because, like you used to do, he gets up in the middle of the night. It's actually really early in the morning.
Absolutely.
And said he wasn't feeling well. He had to call in. And I said, no problem. We'll find someone.
Yeah.
And we both went through our Rolodexes.
Yep.
And we found no one, so you're stuck with me.
That's not exactly true. What we decided was maybe this would be the best way to go about it. It would be a lot of fun to have Dave on. Dave and I it's not like this is a stranger. I mean, you and I have a lot of history, and a lot of people who are listening know who you are here in the area. You are the founder, president, CEO, the top guy at Thomson Communications.
I also take out the trash there.
You take out the trash there. That's fantastic. You're also a professor, a teacher at Endicott.
Endicott, yes.
And a guy who does a whole lot of charity work and a whole lot of things here in the area. So it's always a pleasure to just sit around and just chat with you. And you and I are just friends.
Absolutely.
Longtime friends, in fact.
Longtime friends,
Tell everybody how we came
met
to know one another.
Originally, way back when you were at Channel 7.
Yes.
And I was an infant. And I was...
You were in high school.
There you go. I was running the stage at Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And you would come and MC the event.
Yeah.
And we met there, and then our relationship and our friendship just grew from there.
It absolutely did. So much so that we're literally social friends. We've watched our kids grow up. We know our children know one another. So it's been great fun. But we have to tell everybody about how this podcast came about, because you and I are partners in this alongside, of course, Big Night. But this is something that you and I had talked about doing for a long time. And obviously, you have been crazy, crazy busy with your business. And I always had some other kind of broadcast obligation that wouldn't allow me to do it.
Right.
So...
And I also said we need to make it a video podcast.
Yep.
But I'm looking at the monitor now, and I'm maybe changing that idea because I'm seeing myself in the monitor. And all I keep thinking about is that Friends episode where they showed the video of Monica at the prom, and Joey said, "Oh, it looks like someone ate Monica." And Monica said, the camera adds 10 pounds. And
that's
Chandler
not
said, well,
true.
how many cameras are on you? That's how I feel like today. I feel like there's a lot of cameras on me, and there's only 3.
Sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way.
That's okay.
Well, it's been fun, and we've been able to put this together and have really enjoyed the ride together because we circle every day to chat about who the next guests are going to be and putting the show together and strategize about the future and how to promote it. And so we are having a good time. It's
We
great.
are, and the feedback's been great. Everyone has
has.
loved the co-hosts that you've had on so far and loved all the guests that you've had. I think we've had a really good variety of people on, and I think we have a great slate of folks coming up, too.
We do. Yeah, we're booked out for a while here, so it's really terrific. And obviously, Levin is going to join us at another point.
He is. He felt horrible that he felt sick. So nothing you can do about that. Life goes on, so
Absolutely.
we will move on.
That's exactly right.
And one of the things we're going to move on with is the Focus Technology Fast 5.
Okay.
And this time you get to be in the hot seat.
All right.
And I get to say, Focus Technology is your trusted IT partner for cybersecurity, cloud, and managed services.
The cloud.
Okay, Lenny.
That's what Lenny Clark said.
So Pete's going to put 30 seconds on the clock.
What happens if I don't make it in 30 seconds?
Well, the hook comes out. Wherever this hook is, we'll have to figure that out. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Who is your celebrity crush as a teenager?
David Cassidy.
All right. Who is your celebrity crush now?
Ryan Reynolds.
I knew you were going to say that. The silliest thing that you've ever had to do in your career?
I did the chicken dance on Fox 25, and I regret it.
That is pretty silly.
Yes, it was ridiculous.
If you didn't have a career in journalism, what do you think you'd be doing?
I would like to be a singer. My problem is that I cannot sing, not a note. I cannot carry a tune, but that's what I'd want to do.
Okay, that could be a problem, though.
Yes. Thank
but
goodness
you
I
can
was
whistle.
in journalism.
You can whistle.
Oh, like you cannot believe.
Yes.
I'll do that after the Fast Five.
Perfect. And finally, guest you would most like to have on Kerrigan and Company?
James Taylor. And if you're out there, Mr. Taylor, please, I would like to have you on the show.
We would love to have you on the show. Please get in touch with us.
I had a great story from Lenny after he was on the show, Lenny Clark. He was our co-host the very first episode. And afterward, I said something about James Taylor. And he said, oh, yeah, I saw him over on the Vineyard. And he said, and I walked over to him, and I really didn't know him. And I said, hey, Jim, how you doing? And James Taylor said, it's James. And he said, yeah, whatever.
Only Lenny could get away with that.
Only Lenny could get away with it. I would not do that if James Taylor
We
comes on the
promise to
show.
call him James.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, you passed. Good job.
Well, thank you. All right, listen, folks. My dear friend and the executive producer of this show is stepping in today. This is David Thomson. I so much appreciate it. But we do have a great guest who's coming up. And this is coming all the way to us from Panama, if you can imagine. All I'm going to say to you is World Cup. And that's coming up right here on Kerrigan and Company. My family and I love to go out for Sunday brunch, so I was really excited to find out that A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly now has brunch on Sundays, and guess what? It's a jazz brunch. I've looked at the menu, and I've got my eye on that avocado Benedict with avocado slices, 2 poached eggs, hollandaise sauce, English muffin, and mixed potato hash. I already know that my husband's going to have the chicken and waffles. He always does. Plus, it's always fun to have a drink at brunch. I'll probably have a Bloody Mary, and somebody at my table will no doubt have a mimosa. Or we'll just wait to see what's on the menu. If you don't have plans this Sunday, then you know what to do. Get to A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly for Sunday Jazz Brunch. If you're looking for a great page-turner book, I highly recommend Trevor. It's written by S. Hilbrey Thompson. Now, unable to escape his past, Matt Stone heads north, leaving behind the memory of his dead wife and son. His journey takes a turn when he comes across his late son's doppelganger, Trevor Reed. Blinded by the resemblance, Matt becomes obsessed and begins to stalk the little boy. Little does Trevor know, he becomes wrapped up in Matt's delusions. Before long, the local authorities, FBI, and an enthusiastic reporter are all actively involved. When Trevor disappears, his family will do anything to get him back. A chase starts on Boston's North Shore and leads to an island on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire. Trevor is gripping from the first page. It's fast-moving, it's suspenseful, it's touching, and it's tragic all at the same time. I have to tell you, folks, I loved this book, and I highly recommend it. Purchase Trevor by S. Hilbrey Thompson on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and other online book retailers.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spiced, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum, which is smooth and sweet with a warm roasted coffee flavor, a hint of vanilla, and a decadent buttery finish. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
I want to tell you about the Northeast Arc, an organization that I am so proud to work with on a regular basis. Northeast Arc has been changing lives and discovering abilities for people with disabilities and autism for some 70 years now. They help people with diverse abilities across Massachusetts live as fully included members of society, choosing for themselves how to live, learn, work, socialize, and play. They're hiring, and if you'd like to join their dedicated team, this is how you do it. Visit ne-arc.org/careers. This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. This is Kerrigan & Company. It is my great pleasure to introduce today's guest. David Thomson, by the way, with me here on Kerrigan & Company, which is brought to us, of course, by A&B Burger. We appreciate those guys very much. I'm ready for one of their burgers today, by the way. I mean, I'm going to have to run over.
After the show, absolutely.
I'm going to have to run over this afternoon. But anyway, we are so thrilled to be joined today by the one and only Andrew Farrell. He is a member of the New England Revolution. And if you can believe this, Andrew's kind enough to join us from Panama. First off, good afternoon. Great to see you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
Yeah,
why are you guys in Panama?
We have we qualified last year for the CONCACAF Champions League, so it's a tournament within the continent. And our team, we're good enough, I guess, to qualify for this tournament. And so we have a game down here in Panama, playing tomorrow night at 8 p.m. or 8:30, something like that. But yeah, so we're down here for a game.
What's the competition look like?
Oh, the team's really good. It's the champion of Panama, so it's going to be a pretty tough opponent. We watched some tape on them, so should be a good matchup, especially because they're 4 or 5 games into the season, and this is our first game of the season. So we're excited, but it's a good challenge to have.
It's fantastic. Now, when you guys get finished down there, talk about how the season starts to roll. What's next?
Yeah, season comes fast. We have so we'll fly back after Wednesday. We fly back Thursday. We fly to DC United. That's where our first. So Saturday we play on the way back. So we don't even come to Boston yet. We go straight to DC and play our season opener in DC, and then we play another game the following Thursday at home, and then our home opener is that Saturday, I think, against Toronto. Sunday. Wow. Sunday. Yeah. So it's a lot of games coming fast, but so that's why I messed up on them. But yeah, excited for the season to get going.
It's great.
And you have this is your 12th season, correct, with the Revolution?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And my understanding is have the most minutes played by any Revolution player? Yeah. I've been here for a long time, so it's only a matter of time before I got that one, right? Well, not
necessarily.
Knock on wood. I've been healthy enough to be able to play a lot of games and a lot of times with this team, the team that gave me the chance to be a professional, to live out my dream. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, you were drafted back in 2013. You were the number 1 draft pick. And you've been with the Revolution ever since. How unusual is that in the world of soccer for somebody to stay with a team that long?
It's pretty unusual. It doesn't happen that often anymore. Nowadays, so many players get sold, especially because it's not just, in the States, it's the world game. So we have guys who've gone overseas and you get sold within a year or two. You have a couple of good seasons and you're gone. So maybe I wasn't good enough, but I think I've been, I've had a good career where the team has always wanted to bring me back, and and reward me for, the things I've done. So it is not very usual to be on a team for this.
That's so great. That's so great, Andrew. Listen, talk to us a little bit over the 12 seasons that you've played, the changes that you've seen in the fan base and the interest in soccer here in the States.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing each and every year. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think a lot of the success of the national team has helped with that, with the U.S. men's team and the women's growing the sport. But I think, everyone when they were kids grew up playing soccer, but then it kind of phased out. There's so many different sports that you compete with, especially even in the market that we're in with the Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots, the Red Sox. So many different sports that kids can grow up playing. So, but our fan base is great. And I think, especially with the World Cup coming in 2026, especially Boston being a host city, I'm excited to see how much the sport can grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all three of my girls played soccer growing up, youth soccer, then through high school. And one of our favorite things was going to a Revolution game, because you mentioned the other sports team, and it's not always that affordable to get to those games. The Revs games are, and you guys do so much to entertain the fans and keep everyone engaged. How important is that to the team to be, interacting with the fans?
Yeah, I think the fan. I mean, obviously I play a sport because I love it and I enjoy to compete, but it's also fun to entertain and play for a great crowd. And we have some of the best fans in the league. Very loyal, very passionate, very New England. They're very, if you're not doing things well, they'll let you know. But they come out and support, rain or snow or cold weather. And so it's been great to be in the same team for 12 years and have that support throughout. And it's still growing and growing. And like you said, it's a very fun environment and atmosphere. And I think our fan base is one of the best in the league.
Caleb Porter, new head coach. How many head coaches have you lived through?
This is my fourth head coach, I think. This is my fourth coach. Yeah.
You keep wearing them out.
I guess so. Caleb's come in and he's done a really good job. He's a coach that's won a lot in this league. He commands a lot of respect. His staff is great, and I think all the guys have bought in. I think that's important. Believe in what he's saying. It's not always a new coach, but it's if a new coach and he kind of oozes that confidence and guys buy into that. And so he's done that, and he's great. I really enjoy having him here, and I'm glad to be able to play for him.
Andrew, everything I read about you, you're a guy who buys in. You're a player's player, is my understanding. In fact, you've won the humanitarian award 2 years there on the team in the 12 seasons that you've been there. How important is that? I mean, especially in a team sport like you're in, everybody's got to buy in, and they look to a leader like you.
Yeah, I think it's important to, especially with my parents growing up, they always instilled in me those values of giving back and being, part of a team and giving back to your community and giving back to people who have helped you out, but also people who you've never met, and trying to be a good person. And so I think that's kind of the mentality I have when going into a team, is I just try to help out as much as I can, whatever I can do to help the younger guys, the veteran guys, try to be that glue that kind of keeps us together. And so I'm probably not the most talented on our team, definitely not the most talented on our team, but I'm a guy that I'm going to show up and work hard and give it my all no matter what. So I think that's something that, I've had 4 coaches. So I think that's something that they've always seen, is that's something that I try to do.
That's so great.
Are there specific charities that are important to you that you really spend some time with?
Yeah, I think one of them I work with a lot is the Special Olympics. It's something that a community that I used to work with back in college at University of Louisville, and it kind of carried over to working with them here up in Boston. It's a charity that or a community I've done grown a lot with, and so that's the one. But all of them. I love giving back to the community. Animal rescue, anything. I'm out there. I'm willing to help out and give my time, whatever it is. Yeah.
Now, don't say that if you don't mean it, because too many people will be listening. You're going to get a lot of calls.
If I have training, I can't make it, but after that, I'll be there.
All right, let's talk about the World Cup. This is pretty exciting, huh? 2026, Gillette will play host to 7 games, a couple of them quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, some big games.
Well, first off, in 2026, where are you going to be?
That's a great question. I mean, I'll definitely be going to the games. We'll see if I'm going to still be playing or not. But I'll probably be in Boston watching some games. If I'm not playing, I'll probably be all right, just watching games all over the country. But definitely in Boston watching some games. I have some former teammates and some current teammates, I hope, that are going to be on that team representing the United States. So, just following wherever they're going to be going. But it's a big thing for the country, obviously hosting with Canada and Mexico. But yeah, I think it's going to be big for Boston as well. It's a big sports town, and hosting quarterfinal games and other games. It's going to be fun to see that kind of environment in the city.
And I know you talked about this briefly earlier, but having the World Cup, not just in Boston, but it's going to be in other cities around, the country. Is this going to make a difference in the fan base? Is this going to bring more people in? I have been overseas, not in a stadium, but I've been outside the stadium when it's happening, and it's insanity there. Obviously
it's crazy.
Football, if you will, right?
Exactly.
They're confused.
It's going to be like, I think the years leading up to it. So like this year, the next couple of years leading up to it, and then even after. The effect it can have is huge. And so that's why, we hope that the U.S. goes and wins the whole thing. But even just the build up to it is great for our leagues, for the women's leagues, for all the leagues, all the divisions. So it's something that I'm excited to obviously have in our city, but also a lot of cities across the country.
Sure. Is there a possibility the U.S. could win it?
I think so. I think we have a really talented group, guys playing overseas at a high level. I think we could. I mean, obviously, it's World Cup is hard to win. So, but I think they'll go far. And I think, if I put my money on it, I'd say, let's win it.
Oh, I love it. All right. You heard that here, folks. So what happens after soccer?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a question I've been going back and forth with for the last couple of years. I don't know. I want to stay involved. I enjoy coaching. I've got my B license, my coaching license. So that's something I'm interested in doing. So staying around the sport, but also I enjoy, like I said, working with humanitarian causes and working with Special Olympics, things like that. So, within the next couple of years, I need to figure out what's next. My mom's been asking me that. So I'll see what's next. I'll probably take a little time off whenever I'm done playing, relax the body. But then I'll probably get into, probably coaching a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Professional athletes do not have the length of the career that you've had. You've had a really long career. So at some point, unfortunately, the body wears out, right? So
exactly,
you have to move on to something else. Do you think you'll stay in the Boston area?
I don't know. That's a good question. I never thought I'd be in Boston this long. Like, honestly, I never thought. You never stay on a team for this long. It's a couple of years. You might get traded. You get moved. So maybe, I don't know, if you guys got a job for me, hey, I'll come work for you guys.
If you've adjusted to the weather this long, you might as well stay.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure.
Well, listen, we wish you guys the best of luck. I hope it's a super great season. Going to get down to see you. And let me ask you this real quickly. For a long time, there's been a lot of talk about the Kraft family building a stadium specifically for the Revolution. I would venture to guess that may not come to fruition before you step out of the game. Would it be a great idea for the city?
I think it'd be amazing, especially we have the women's team coming.
Right.
I think it'd be really cool to see that, especially something even close to the cities. You've seen a lot of times where they build stadiums near cities and downtown. It's easy, very accessible, and it's just, get that foot traffic, and especially when a team's winning, people come. And so I think it'd be cool. Definitely. I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for that, but I think it would be cool to have that in Boston. At some point. Yes.
All right. And my last question for you, and then we're going to let you go because I know you need to rest. And you said it's really hot there, so we got to make sure you stay cool. Besides the Revolution, what's your favorite team here in Boston?
Oh, I'm a big Celtics fan.
Are you?
I'm a big Celtics fan. Yeah. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all of them. I like the additions we made this year to the team, and I hope they can win this year. Yeah. Terrific. I mean, I love all the teams. But Celtics are,
So here's my suggestion: when you're finished playing soccer, you can be a politician.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, there you go. I'll start working on that.
Andrew Farrell, thank you so much. Best of luck to you and the Revolution.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, David. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew Farrell, he's pretty terrific, huh?
He was fantastic.
Oh, gosh. We're going to get down there to see the Revolution. I got to wait till it
Absolutely.
gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
They play, it's chilly in
Maybe we'll
March.
do a June or July game.
That's
Let's
when
do
we're
that.
going to go. This is Kerrigan and Company. I have to tell you, folks, I think lighting in your home is one of the most important things that you can do to keep the house updated. And when I need new lighting, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. Their spectacular 10,000 square foot showroom inside a beautiful mansion in Lynn, Massachusetts is decorated with both architectural and decorative lighting in every single style. From crystal and traditional to contemporary and modern, the selection is absolutely unmatched. Whenever I'm looking for new lighting, as I mentioned, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. And when I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for, I rely on the expert guidance of their design team. I know that they can help me. Learn more and book your appointment today. It's lucialighting.com. Do you know what generative AI is and how your company can ensure employees are more productive? Focus Technology can help you master the use of Microsoft's newest tool, Copilot. This powerful tool can help your team speed up many of their daily tasks by enabling hands-on learning directly with the software. It can summarize long emails, generate drafts of long documents, and search for answers to key questions. Copilot represents a unique opportunity for businesses to accelerate their understanding of what generative AI can deliver for their company. Contact Focus Technology today to learn more at focustsi.com and bring your organization into the AI revolution. That's focustsi.com.
Big Night Studios is now open for all content creators. Are you looking to start a podcast? Looking to expand your brand? Then visit bignightmedia.com. Check out our rates, check out the studio, and see all the podcasts we have to offer. That's bignightmedia.com.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Great Point Wealth Advisors. If you're close to retirement and want a better plan for the future, connect with greatpointwealth.com today. That's Great Point Wealth. They can help. This is Kerrigan and Company. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company, of course, brought to us by A&B Burger. I want to take a moment to get a little more serious. February is, of course, American Heart Month. And the American Heart Association really puts a spotlight most specifically on women and their heart issues. And we wanted to learn a little bit more about some of the things that go on when one has heart disease. Joining us is Saraa Basaria, and it's great to have you with us. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This has always been a month, and this particular event is one that I've always taken a lot of interest in because I think it's amazing how many people don't realize that heart disease is really a bigger issue for women than it is men. And most people think that it's men who have heart disease, have heart attacks, who have strokes. And it's women. It's those of us who are female who need to really be concerned. We want you to share a bit of your story, if you will, and why you are directly involved with the organization and this particular month.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to share my story. Mm-hmm. So when I was 34 years old, 2 years ago in April of 2022, I was diagnosed with end-stage heart failure. And that diagnosis came out of nowhere. I had never had any heart problems ever in my life. I was healthy, I was active, I was working, and in March I started feeling pretty bad. I thought I had symptoms of a bad stomach bug, and it sort of progressed to the point where I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't keep down water, I couldn't catch my breath. I felt like there was a really heavy pressure on my chest at all times. Unfortunately, I went to doctors for about 6 weeks, doctors, urgent cares, specialists, unrelated to cardiology, and the general diagnosis is, well, we think there's something wrong with your GI system, but everything kept coming up negative, and so there wasn't really any clarity on what was going on. And then in the end of April of 2022, I finally went to the ER for the second time and was admitted to the ER. And at that time, I had my first EKG, which is pretty remarkable, given that I had been getting care for about 6 weeks at that point. And of course, the EKG showed abnormalities. I was admitted, and 2 days later, I had my first echocardiogram, which is essentially an ultrasound of the heart, and it showed that the findings were very critical. In fact, my ejection fraction, which a normal ejection fraction is about 55 to 60.
I'm going to interrupt you right there
Sure.
and ask you what that is. I don't know.
Of course.
Thank you.
So
I don't either.
an ejection fraction, it basically measures how well your blood is pumping into your body from your heart. So it measures the efficiency of your heart.
Okay.
And a normal person's ejection fraction is about 55 to 60. Some say 55 to 70. And this means that person can engage in a moderate level of physical activity, moderate to maybe normal, sort of everyday run-of-the-mill person without any cardiac disease. My ejection fraction was between 8 and 10 at the time that I was admitted. And I was given the diagnosis of end-stage heart failure. I was told that I'm in cardiogenic shock, which is a really serious sort of, when you're in cardiogenic shock, you're at risk of sudden cardiac arrest or cardiac death at any time, essentially.
You're just a ticking time bomb, essentially, right?
Essentially. And at first the goal was to sort of stabilize me and get me through the night. Then once that diagnosis was given to me and my family, the hope was, well, can we fix her heart with medicine? Because I was so young and I was so healthy otherwise.
Sure.
Unfortunately, by the time my heart failure was found, it was so severe that my only option was a heart transplant. And heart transplants, as you can imagine, are pretty hard to come by. They don't happen as quickly as I needed one at the time. So I, in the meantime, had to get something called a left ventricular assist device. It's called an LVAD for short. And essentially what happens is you have open heart surgery. Surgeons go in and they put a pump, sort of a cylindrical looking pump, into the bottom of your heart. And that performs your heart's pumping function for you. Now, that needs power, of course. So it's connected to a wire, and that wire came out of my abdomen. And that wire was connected to very large batteries. And the batteries only last so long. So during the daytime, I had about 17 hours on those batteries. And at night, I would plug myself into a wall unit. I always say like an iPhone charger.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, to keep power overnight. Now, obviously, it's a machine. It's considered life support. If I did not have access to power or electricity, my pump would stop. If my pump stopped getting power, the entire pump would stop in about 15 minutes, and you can imagine how dire the consequences would have been.
Well, at that point, Saraa, was that pump the only thing pumping? Had your heart stopped, or once it becomes reliant on the pump, does it stop pumping on its own?
It's a really interesting question. So our hearts beat because of an electrical pulse that goes through our hearts. So my heart was continuing to beat. But when you think about pulsatility, if you take your fingers and you put them against your wrist right now, you feel your pulse. What you're feeling is your pulse, and that's sort of how, with what force your blood is pumping through your body. So I had minimal to no pulsatility. So when I had an LVAD, I didn't have a pulse. You couldn't get a blood pressure with an auto cuff, which is sort of just the cuff when you go to the doctor and they put the thing around and they turn the machine on. So it's a very interesting situation to be in, to be alive, but you can't feel your heart beating.
Wow.
And how comfortable you being home, knowing you were being relying on plugging into the wall at night.
Yeah,
It must have been so scary.
It was a really big adjustment. Luckily, the institutions that do these sort of implantations, they have incredibly gifted clinicians, staff, nurses who train you, before you leave. And so the patient is trained. My family was trained on it. You have to sort of understand how the pump works to understand what would happen if the pump didn't work, or what to do if it stops working. So one of the things that an LVAD patient has to do is, when I would leave the house in the morning, I, of course, would be connected to batteries through the wire that came out of my belly that's connected to me at all times. I also had a backup of everything in a separate pack.
Sure.
Because if it's a machine, machines are fallible, of course, right? So
if you ran out of juice in the middle of the day, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Or if there was an issue with the controller, which was the mechanism that, was the go-between between the pump and the batteries, you had to have it with you.
Were you working during this time period?
I did go back to work. 6 months after my diagnosis, I went back to work as a lawyer. I worked part-time because that was about all I was able to do, but I was really grateful to be able to do that.
Wow.
It was, I think, really critical to maintaining my personhood. The person I was before this diagnosis came into my life.
Absolutely. So how long were we on the pump?
So normally what happens with the LVAD is it's usually one of two choices. You either have it as a bridge to a transplant. And so, once you get the LVAD, you get on the transplant list. In New England, a heart can take up to 5 years. It really depends on your blood type, your body, sort of, the assays in your blood and all sorts of very specific things that the cardiologists listening are probably cringing hearing with me butchering. But the other option is destination therapy, which is often the option when a person is older and they receive an LVAD. And by the way, the majority of LVAD patients are 50 and above.
I'll bet.
I was 34 when I got mine. So I was a very unique LVAD patient. When it's destination therapy, the patient, gets to extend their life for the life of that pump. I know that there are some people who've been on the previous generation of the pump that have gone 16 years and strong. It's often far less than that. So, certainly at 34, that's not a very long life you're thinking about, right? So in my case, a very unexpected thing happened, which was in the fall of 2023, I had some routine testing, and my medical team took a look at my testing and was surprised to see that my ejection fraction had gone up significantly, and wanted to sort of investigate to understand what this might mean. And after some investigation, after really rigorous testing, on October 27th of 2023, I learned I'm in remission from heart failure. And on December 19th, my LVAD was decommissioned, meaning I had surgery. The wire that I was talking about was removed, pump was turned off, and I am now LVAD free.
So when you were on the LVAD, did that help your heart heal? And then it got back to the point where you didn't need it anymore?
Yes, so in about 1 to 4% of cases, the LVAD results in myocardial recovery, which is what I experienced. And it's exceedingly rare, this outcome. So, when you're as sick as I was, this was not a real option for us. And when I say us, I mean myself, my family, my friends, the incredible, wonderful community and support system that I've had. Our best hope was that I would get a heart transplant soon.
Right.
That was the best option. And when we were told about that this was even an option, let alone it had become reality, I mean, it was and continues to be mind-blowing.
Right. So, first off, how do you feel now?
I feel great.
And are you limited in your activity? Are you psychologically limited? That's the first thing that pops in my mind, how I would be able to cope with it. So talk a little bit about that.
That's a really important point that you bring up, because physically, I don't really have very many limitations at this point. I'm back to exercising. I'm actually beginning my certification to become a yoga teacher. I'm starting this weekend, which is really exciting. I'm active. I strength train. I do all the things that I want and need to do. The psychological aspect of it is that's a bit of a slower healing process.
I'll bet.
You go from completely healthy and you have your entire life ahead of you to essentially a terminal diagnosis. Terminal, but for the intervention of a heart transplant, which again isn't a given. And then you suddenly have everything back. So, it's a process, but it's filled with gratitude and joy and a real appreciation for every moment that I am here and I get to experience this life.
And what is the prognosis?
So the prognosis is that if I continue looking the way I'm looking on all the scans and whatnot, I should lead a fairly normal, healthy, hopefully long life. Wow. It's completely different, and it's beautiful.
And how often do you need to get monitored now that you're in remission?
Yeah, so my case is so unique that the monitoring at the beginning has been pretty frequent. The goal is to get to the point of going to see my cardiologist every 6 months or a year, which is mind-blowing to me because,
it is.
For me, going to the cardiologist has always been sort of a critical, there's something really serious going on. We need to understand what's going on, in the 2 years that I've ever seen cardiologist. And to go to a normal cardiology patient, status is really exciting.
I like you, sir, but I don't want to see you anytime soon.
Exactly.
So your situation it's incredible. It's a
unique. Miracle.
Right, it's a miracle. It's so unique in so many ways. Number one, just the fact that you had it at 34 years old is unique in and of itself. And then the fact that it has it's in remission is unbelievable. You explained to us the kinds of symptoms that you had and the things. What do you, no doubt you must talk to other people, and you've learned a lot about heart health. What do you say to people, about their hearts and what they need to do and what you suggest?
I think what's interesting about my situation.
I know you're not a cardiologist, by the way, but I
Yes,
think you could play one on TV. I just want you to know that.
Is necessary.
Yeah.
What's interesting about my situation is actually not as unique as we think it is.
Huh.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of women, more than all cancers combined. I think it's something, the statistic is somewhere like 40 to 50% of women are dealing with heart disease. 40% of women don't know how serious heart disease is in women. Heart disease and heart attacks present differently in women than they do in men. So when I speak to people about what's happened, particularly women, I just encourage folks to really listen to their bodies. I always say you don't know you better than, I'm going to mess this up, but you know you better than anyone else knows you. That's what I was going for. And, I think that oftentimes when we receive medical care, there's this default of being deferential to the medical provider. And while I understand that, and I think, everyone should have a positive relationship with their medical provider, ideally, there are some situations in which women are just simply not heard about their symptoms. So I encourage women in particular, but everyone, to be curious about what is going on with your own body and trust your instincts. I knew something was wrong.
Well, Saraa, I was just going to say, you went a long time not being diagnosed, and you knew something was wrong. I think you're right about that. I think women have a tendency to not speak up for themselves, or when they do, they're sort of told, oh, you're being hysterical, and you've got the flu, and you'll get over this. And that's not always the case, certainly, but I think at times it can be.
Unfortunately, I dealt with this issue of, I think you might just have anxiety. You have a stressful job. You're a lawyer. We see this a lot with lawyers. And, all of those things may be true.
Sure.
But you knew there was something more than that.
It was an instinct. It was something that I felt deep within me, that I felt something was very serious and very wrong. And, the people around me knew it as well. My parents, my sister, my best friend, everybody was really concerned during this entire period of time.
Sure.
And it just took finally getting admitted and getting the right tests, and then, the writing was on the wall.
I think most people know if, after a certain period of time, I think most people recognize anxiety versus a real health issue. I really do. I think people, like you said, know themselves, but you sure have to pay attention. You're out there speaking to a lot of people, which seems like a really great thing for you to do, and we're so appreciative you came here today because it's a real learning curve. But tell us a little bit about some of the events that you plan to be attending and some of the things that are going on over the next couple of months.
Sure. So I'm really involved in the American Heart Association. We, as a family, became involved last year. The AHA has a run in the summer called Lawyers Have Heart. And my sister is also a lawyer. And so we got involved in that last year, raised a whole bunch of money. And that just got us more connected with folks at the AHA here. And toward the end of last year, my sister and I were named co-chairwomen of the Circle of Red.
Great.
Which is a giving society within Go Red for Women, which is the women's health initiative within the American Heart Association. And it's been a real opportunity for us to talk to folks and talk about the amazing work that the AHA does. One of the things that I always talk about is the medical innovation that got me to where I am. If the medical innovation had not been funded, if somebody's crazy idea that maybe we can artificially pump somebody's heart and maybe they can leave the hospital and live a decent life with it, if that idea had never been funded, we wouldn't be talking right now, and look at all the life I've been able to lead and hopefully will lead because that idea was funded. Absolutely. They also do a lot of really interesting research in addressing gaps in clinical care, particularly for women, and it's a real conversation that needs to be had. Go Red for Women has the annual event in Boston. It's going to be on April 11th at the State Room, and tickets are available, heart.org/Boston Go Red. Folks can purchase individual tickets. Corporate sponsors are always welcome, and it's a wonderful event where, we talk about women's health issues in the cardiovascular space, survivors speak. It's a really wonderful opportunity for the community to network. Then, of course, there's the annual Heart and Stroke Ball, which will be at the Omni in May. I believe it's May 5th. That's the American Heart Association's really big event every year. So these are
Lots
just
of things.
opportunities.
Right. Lots
you know,
of
for
opportunities.
people.
You bet. And if anybody's looking for information, you can go on their website
Right.
because there's a lot of information there. Some of those statistics are so surprising, even to those of us who maybe keep an eye on this kind of thing. I was very
Absolutely.
surprised. Saraa Basaria, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on. You look well. Stay well, my
Thank you so
friend.
much.
You know, we want you to be that gleaming example out there of just how great it can all be. So thank you
Thank
very,
you so much
very
for
much.
having me and being interested in this really important topic. I'm so glad that we're just getting the word out there and, you know, just encouraging women to take care of themselves.
Absolutely. Me too. And remember, ladies out there, if you think there's something wrong, then you push it really, really hard.
Absolutely.
All right. Saraa, thanks so very much. This is Kerrigan and Company. Is your life getting more complex? Maybe jobs are changing, you're nearing retirement, shifting family dynamic, uncertainty about your financial future. It may be the right time to contact our sponsor, Great Point Wealth Advisors, for holistic planning and advice. Great Point Wealth Advisors is a registered investment advisory firm with offices in Boston and Danvers, Massachusetts. Listen to their short-form podcast, Great Points, on most streaming platforms or contact them at greatpointwealth.com. That's greatpointwealth.com. Well, that is another edition of Kerrigan and Company. It's been so fun. We're so glad that everybody could be with us. Of course, we're brought to you by A&B Burger, and we appreciate their support. And I want to thank Dave Thomson, my executive producer, who stepped in at the very last minute to help us out. Again, sometimes things happen, but I certainly appreciate that. We also want to thank Andrew and Saraa. It's been a great show, and we hope to see you again next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan and Company is David Thomson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.
Yes, Kerrigan and Company.